Yo, how's it going everybody? It's DJ Sketch and welcome back to the channel. And what can I say about Revolution X that hasn't already been said over the years? Most of us that were able to go to arcades, pizza parlors, and movie theaters in the early 90s would often see this machine either next to Mortal Kombat 2 or sometimes even Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I used to play this game constantly as a kid back in the day when Aladdin's Castle was still an active nationwide chain of arcades in America. And back in those days I remember being super gassed up on this game even though I was not the biggest Aerosmith fan. However, I do remember this game being released at the height of their early 90s popularity, when Liv Tyler and Alicia Silverstone were almost always featured in their videos. Fast forward about 20 some odd years later, and I finally tried the Super Nintendo and PS1 ports, and I noticed quite a few things that differ from the arcade original. But just for the sake of clarity, let's do a brief rundown as to what's going on in Revolution X. Revolution X is an on-rail shooter in which it's your mission to stop the New Order Nation, NON for short, and their ruthless, yet foxy, leader, Helga, also played by Carrie Hoskins of Sonya Blade fame, who have abducted Aerosmith along with numerous people from various age groups. You start out in downtown LA with a heavy machine gun and the power of compact disc and laser disc. From LA you'll traverse through several different locales around the world, including the Amazon, the Middle East, and the Pacific Rim. How you can manage to get to all these places with just a car? We'll never know, but that's besides the point. In a world where entertainment in all forms is banned, it's up to you and your crew to stop the New Order Nation and save the world from a hostile takeover. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, the game starts out going through the streets on the way to a Club X, where an Aerosmith show is set to start pretty soon, and in the process, you're gunning down anything and everything that gets in your way. And now that I think about it, this is one of the few light gun games that has no penalty for hitting innocents, since there aren't any, except for the babes you'll rescue throughout the game. On your journey, you'll also find the super gun pickup, which will increase your firepower, an overshield that will reduce damage, and a skull bomb that works as a screen clear. The game is pretty fun at the start, and as it goes on, you'll start to notice some little quirks, I guess we could say, that might make the game a little bit more difficult than maybe it should be, or maybe this wants to get your quarters from you. So first, let's address something that you'll notice right away if you've played the arcade version and then played any other home port: the dancers in Club X. In the arcade version, they'll be dropping it like Tatiana, busting it down all day, whereas in the home versions, the dancers will be facing forward at all times. In short, there's no badonkadonk to be seen in any of the home versions, which is quite a shame. Second, there are some rooms and sections that will seem endless at times. I actually thought this game had crashed, or maybe the disc was dirty, since it was a corridor in the Amazon level that just wouldn't end, until I finally noticed you had to shoot out every individual pillar in the hallway in order to move forward. This part, however, does have an advantage, since if you don't move forward, enemies will continue to spawn and drop power-ups for you. So if you want to rack up stupid high scores and also kind of cheese this section just to get really juiced up, you can play this part indefinitely if you want to. Also, there's a clip provided above, so enjoy that. If you really can just let this just keep going and going. It won't stop until you knock out these pillars. And also, same with the guy who chucks grenades at you from the little countertop. It seems like gunfire is going to do no damage to him, like, at all, but on this bit, what you really want to do is shoot the chains off the sign above him to drop it down on his head. So you gotta hit all three sections, because you'll be seeing a lot more things like this in the future. There's also a segment in which you're chased by a giant mecha spider bee monster that gunfire seems to do absolutely nothing to, and also shooting disc at it is just a waste of ammo. This game gives you no indication that you need to shoot the post of the bridge to drop it into the pit below to finally get it out of your hair. This won't be the last time you'll see this sort of mechanic either. It only gets better once you get to the Middle East level. This is the big one here. So this was the biggest bit of bullshit in this game that I remember even back in the day. I found this extremely frustrating because this is where I would always see runs in. So there's the bus level. The infamous bus level where you have to shoot the little dials to either speed up or slow down in order to stay in frame with the bus and destroy it before it delivers a boatload of prisoners to the deprogramming facility. This is the main part back in the day, like I said. This is where a lot of runs in. There's no indicator as to which parts of the bus you have to shoot in order to destroy it. You have to basically shoot every single piece of the bus, including the steps leading up into the doorway, in order to stop in its tracks. This, much like the truck section in Terminator 2, this is notorious for taking your money and ganking your quarters in the arcade. And if you've made it this far in the game, that's good. You're about halfway through it. The Pacific Rim section is not nearly as bad though. It's a warehouse maze, but by this point you kind of get the idea to shoot everything around you to reveal the path and kind of keep you moving forward where you need to go. And if you go down the wrong way, you can just back it up and it'll kind of do most of that parts for you. Once you get to the right spot, you'll know you're going the right way. And the boss in this section too, much like the bus level, has to have every single point destroyed in order to defeat it. Also, again, no indicators. I know this game came out back in 1994, but there were games that came out before and around this one too that at least tell you where the weak points are. But whatever the reason is besides that, it doesn't really matter. Just keep shooting and eventually this little turd nugget will explode. So just keep firing is, ABF. Always be firing. And then finally, we have the last section, which is Wembley Stadium. We have to destroy a massive wall of TVs alongside an onslaught of non-forces. They're pretty much throwing everything at you, leading up to the final battle with Helga, who then transforms into a giant monster that's really similar to Mutoid Man from Smash TV, so this part's actually pretty sick. This is probably the easiest boss fight in the game too, since by now just to shoot everything on screen, or in this case to shoot the guns, the legs, and even the jolly bits in the middle, and just keep laying down the fire, and the game's over, right? Well, actually there's a catch. If you don't get all of the wings, quote fingers, by that I mean search for all and rescue all the 5 members of Aerosmith, technically you get the bad ending. There's videos and FAQs about all the locations if you want to 100% this game, and that's an option should you choose to take it. I mean, you can get a little bit different of a end credit, so go for it if you're into that kind of thing. And also, while the arcade version is pretty sick, it ramps up in difficulty or ramps down depending on how you're doing. So if you're doing awesome, it's going to get way harder. And if you're not doing so great, it'll kind of dial it back a little bit. The home ports, however, by Rage Software, had a few weird omissions aside from the dancers in the first level. Even some of the game's tracks were either rearranged or flat out removed in some levels, and even Aerosmith tracks featured in the arcade version were also removed. For example, the coin-op version, during the stat breakdown at the end, the song Sweet Emotion would play. Pretty much it would play that between every level. In the home ports, it is completely removed and replaced by a stripped down version of Ragdoll, which is mostly just like the chorus like riffs. It's a small difference, sure, but it's a lot of the little nuances that made the arcade version flawed yet awesome are pretty much all gone, except for maybe the DOS port, which I have never tried or have known anybody to try, honestly. So, Revolution X is a particularly interesting case. It's got a fair amount of cheese in it, but also can be pretty fun to play just due to the sheer fact it's one of those so bad it's good kind of games. The arcade version is definitely the way to go, considering the PS1 version is pretty heavy on load times, so keep that in mind with the numerous changes and omissions. This one's going to get a 7 out of 10. It's not terrible, but at the same time, it's a fun one just to mess around with if you want to kill an hour or two, or just want to revisit some 90s nostalgia in the true Midway fashion. Good thing is, just about every home version of Revolution X is super cheap, so if you see a copy out in the wild, give it a go. If you just want to get something cheap and cheerful with a lot of entertainment and 90s attitude. I think if you watch this review and if you can use these and find them helpful, that's awesome. I'm glad you can use it as a resource. And we'll have some more reviews coming up in the future and some more commentaries, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy and stay safe out there.